Hello friends, family, and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another high-level game of StarCraft 2. Now, before we get into this, I'd like to, first of all, tell all of you that I am capable of reading. That might come as a surprise to some of you, but I'm a bit of a reader, and I read articles. Not about the news, but about StarCraft 2. At teamliquid.net mainly, or I read Reddit threads about StarCraft. You know, only the intellectual ones, though. And recently I read a thread about the Intel Extreme Masters KATOWICE, and on the very bottom there were 4 or 5 recommended games. There were 2 recommended games purely for entertainment value, and I had already seen one of those games. That game was Oliveira vs. Clem. I thought that game was fantastic. It was game 2 on Hecate. I'd recommend you all to watch that if you haven't yet. The other game was this particular one, and that's going to be Beyond vs. Kalazur. And now I get that this is a TVT, all right? I know a lot of you just kind of grunted or moaned. Just, ugh, a TVT, Harstem. This is even worse than chess. And that game has no mechanical skill at all. I say, well, guys, that's kind of true, but the TL.net writers, they simply don't lie. Okay, and I checked it as well, you know, because I had already watched one of the recommended games and I thought that was good. I hadn't seen this one, so I can't give my guarantee. But if this one is as good as the Oliveira Clem game, game 2 on Hecate, then we're in for a freaking treat. It's an unlikely match as well. An unlikely match to come to a, you know, to have an entertaining one, to turn into an entertaining one. Because it is 2 players that are, well, quite frankly, a little bit mismatched. Kalazur is a player that, although very good, is not someone that usually takes maps or series of players like Beyond, who I would probably rate as an A-tier player. A player that, when we look at him, we wouldn't be surprised if he makes it into a top 8 or occasionally even into a top 4, right? He's the type of guy that does that and we're like, yeah, that makes sense. He is a top 4, top 8 type of player. Kalazur, if he were to make it into a top 8, something really interesting would have needed to happen, because that is not a common result at all. That's not, that's not trying to flame Kalazur. That's just the reality of things. Now, in the past, I've been critical of the TVT matchup as a boring one with lots of Raven tank Viking camping, and I was kind of hoping to see some Cyclone action here in the early game. That doesn't quite seem to be the case yet. Although Kalazur here is opening up with what seems to me like a triple Rex before 3rd command center. This is an extremely rare opener that we don't see a whole lot. Now, what does this do? It gives you much quicker stim. Look at that. Look at that stim timing over here. Insanely quick stim timing. Still gonna get a 2nd Raven. No interference matrix quite yet, by the way. He's gonna be capable of getting a lot of Marines out and go for either a stim or stim combat timing, while his opponent is going to be trying to get a 3rd base. Now, this does, of course, allow Kalazur to take his own 3rd base on position, which saves a little bit of money, because he's going to be the one with map control. At the same time, he moves across the map. Reaper's now moving in, gonna get caught here by the tank. Will stay alive, at least temporarily. Main base for Beyond, secure. Natural for Beyond, secure enough, as Kalazur spotted the tank and he pulled back his Raven, saying, hey, I don't actually want to harass this. Not yet, at least. We see the swap with the factory moving on to the tech lab. 2nd Raven now also moving out. Double E-base coming down already here for Beyond, who is just playing. This looks greedy to the, to the uninitiated TVT player. You know, look at it. One guy going triple CC, double eBay. What a greedy prick. It's like, yeah, maybe, but this is the standard in TVT. You play triple CC into 3 racks into double eBay. This is not considered greedy at all. What Kalazur is doing here is considered to be very aggressive. It's considered to be somewhat all-in, perhaps even. As his Marine count starting to rise, 19 against 5, 2 Ravens against 3. And now a key thing here is going to be what happens when this 3rd base is going to land. Kalazur pulling ahead in supply. Triple Ravens make their way across the map. Do we have any interference matrix research? No, we don't. Combat shield starts. 3rd GC is not going to be built on the low ground, instead just on the high ground. That does surprise me a little bit. And here come the boys. The Ravens are coming in, and they're trying their absolute best here to get something done. Stim gets revealed, all the turrets fighting one another. Don't want to be losing too many workers here. Also don't want to be losing too many Marines. 3-4 Marines going down pretty much instantly. 6 Marines end up falling here. How many workers died? 1 SCV ends up dying as well. That was quite a bit of energy though that got used here by Bian. And that means that all of a sudden this drop that's now coming in might be harder to deal with if you don't have defensive Ravens. Ravens once again aggressively coming in. Gonna get some serious harass here. That's a single auto turret. There's one more auto turret available. Could potentially help. Double Vikings coming out here for Kalazur, who's wanting to kill both of these, all 3 of these Ravens. They're stuck. Stuck in a corner. Cyclones to the left of me. Ravens to the right. Here I am, stuck in the corner with you. Yeah, all of these Ravens are gonna fall. Double drop now heading in towards the main base. As Kalazur actually in a pretty decent spot. Does unload inside of turret range. An absolute blunder here as one of these medevacts takes serious damage. Combat shield not quite done for Bian yet either. Who should just be getting destroyed here. Honestly, if the target fire out of Kalazur is good, and it is good. 18 workers have gone down as Bian in an absolute world of trouble here. I don't want to say that he's dead, but he's not in a good spot. He's gonna be down in the Raven count, of course. He's gonna be down in the Marine count, or actually, Bian's up in Marine count, but doesn't have combat shield yet. Ooh, there's no interference matrix though on these Ravens. Don't forget, interference never was researched. Would have been so helpful, so useful right now. These Ravens slowly moving forward, inching forward. This tank feels like it would be in range, but it's not. Medevac just moving forward. Okay, that's a Marine that's gonna get hit on the head a couple of times. Here comes a snipe in. What is this? Gonna pick up on the tank as this little group is just gonna get completely blasted. Tank in the back still trying to deal some damage. Reaper plus Cyclone's gonna get actually a couple of kills, which surprises me. Kalazur getting outplayed here after his initial good trade. Now once again in a bit of trouble. 8 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. We've had a lot of fighting already. Bian throwing down a sensor tower should start to feel a little bit more comfortable once more, despite the undersaturation in his main base, which is just very uncomfortable. Extra turrets being set up as well. Do we have a turret in the natural? Of course we do. Liberators being added into the mix as well here, as Kalazur isn't done yet with the aggression. He has a second eBay. He has an armory. He hasn't started his +2 upgrades yet. Look at this. This is going to be a huge deal when this finishes. All of these Marine engagements are going to slightly swing in favor of Bian once the 2-2 upgrades finish. And they're already in favor of Bian, because currently it's 1-1 against just +1. There's no armor upgrade yet on the Marines. This group of units is, well, it's going to get a kill here on an SCV, which is trying to either build a depot. Yeah, it's building a depot there. We have a double drop heading in towards the main base. 2 turrets are available. Don't forget there are 2 Vikings around as well. Bian gets to boost in. It's going to get cleaned up though. Anti-armor missile connects completely. That means the end of all of these Marines as well as the medevacs. What do we have here? 6 tanks, 25 Marines. Yeah, what I'm just thinking that Bian is in a much better spot. Despite the early game shenanigans, the 18-19 workers that Bian ended up losing, it just doesn't feel so great for Kalazur. Doesn't have any tanks defensively here either. It's now gonna spot this move out though. Has the Marine there. Big scan forward. Bian just stims forward. He doesn't give a crap. Holy cow. Bian saw the lack of units there. Is now going to move in towards the natural. Is actually going to get surrounded. Needs to be careful that he doesn't lose these medevacs. Medevacs will stay alive at least for now. SCVs will be around for a bit longer as well. We'll need to go back into mining, as there's a Marine up top here. Same time we have a siege up in the natural. Another little drop. To me, so far, this feels like a fairly standard TVT. I'm not gonna lie. The TL article had been paid for by the TVT lobby, which is a very powerful lobby. Very similar to Big Cheese, who's trying to get everyone to buy cheese. This is You never notice this, but things like the cheeseburger, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put cheese on a burger, does it now? You already get the meat from the cow and then also the milk and turn it into cheese. That's double cow. But the cheese lobby made that happen in the early 60s. You can read back those documents. They've been declassified at this point. Cheese lobby has been way too strong for years now. So is the TVT lobby. They want to get TVT in every round of 4 of the tournament. At least 1 TVT, but preferably 2. Those are their stated goals. As this drop's actually gonna head in. It's gonna do quite a bit of damage, or at least force a response here. See, drop only 5 Marines. Now gonna try to drop in the main base, but these medevacs go down. There's not a whole lot defensively here for Beyond. For KATOWICE. As Beyond moves in, KATOWICE is going to initiate a base trade. Say, hey, I don't want to defend, I want to attack. Both players are in that mindset right now. KATOWICE actually with a better defense here, at least initially, is up in supply by about 20. Even in upgrades, or almost even in upgrades, as 3-3 is getting close to finishing up here for Beyond. It's going to be very helpful once he has fallen. KATOWICE kept his command center alive. So KATOWICE is not just going to be up a base, it's also going to be up quite a bit in army supply. Still down in upgrades though. Actually down 3 upgrades currently when it comes to the Marines. Vehicle weapons level 2 hasn't started for either player. Beyond would love to fight Marine against Marine. I'm not sure if that's something that KATOWICE is also down for. I don't think this is quite going to be the honorable duel that our Korean player wants. Takes out the rocks, is going to quickly reinforce here. Still has, oh my god, that is so many mules available. Also a lot of scans, of course, if he wants to use it for that. Could potentially fly this main base towards his 3rd. As he restarted the command center actually. I hadn't even noticed that. +3 attack is about to finish up here for KATOWICE. Has the siege up defensively. He's gonna lose 1 tank. At least. Yeah. It's gonna stick with 1 tank. That's a lot of Marines here. Need to stim back. Are gonna stim back. At the same time, we have another base trade. No. KATOWICE tried to go, but with just Marines is really scary because his upgrades are so balls. Anti-armor is gonna connect with these Marines, and that is going to help at least a little bit in the fight. We don't have vision of these tanks. Oh, Beyond's gonna get a better trade here for no real reason. Army supply very close. Don't forget upgrades still massively favoring Beyond here. 3-3 versus 2-2. We have a drop now heading into this Marine flank that is being set up. I think Beyond's just gonna try and go in towards the main base. Yeah, we get that big boost in towards the main. There is a tank still available, and turrets helping out as well. I think this is going to be a real good defense here for KATOWICE, who's getting these Vikings in as well. More Marines now dropping out of the medevacs, but this is a hold. And the question is going to be, is there a sensor tower? The answer to that is no. I don't think KATOWICE is aware as to what is kicking off here. There's just a single tank. Both of these tanks were in range of one another, or at least very close. Oh. So we're gonna get a big scan forward. That's the end of this tank, and that's probably the end of this base as well. KATOWICE probably should just counterattack with this little drop. See if we can get something done, because defending this base seems pretty pointless at this point. I don't think he can actually hold. 2 Liberators are on the way. We see serious repair here on this planetary. Air superiority goes the way of KATOWICE. Well, not anymore, as he loses all his Viking for free. That sucks, because he's building 2 Liberators right now. Massive Marine count still moving across the map as well. And I don't think there's anything defensively here for Beyond. Has a single tank on the high ground. We're going to need to see some splits or just a kill there on the tank. That's what we're going to be seeing. Do you want to go for that base? Or do you want to go for some other base? He's gonna move forward. Oh, that's 2 tanks though. It's a lot of shots here on these Marines, but SCVs will fall. Planetary at the same time also ended up dying, but so will this command center. And there are 2 medevacs here that definitely help a little in this fight. Not enough to undo the infantry armor level 3. That wasn't quite done yet for KATOWICE, but was already done for Beyond. Game continues here with near non-stop action in the past few minutes, ever since that first base trade. We've been continuously fighting. And it seems to, well, the fight seems to continue for even longer. We have another command center here being built on the top side. As these tanks are gonna siege up a bit further forward to try and secure this base, we need some air, or we need a sensor tower here would be used. This +2 vehicle weapons is on the way. +2 vehicle weapons is considered to be the biggest tank upgrade in the game, in the TVT matchup, because it allows you to one-shot Marines that have already stimmed, which is obviously a big deal. It's a huge change of interaction. Here comes an attack forward. That's a lot of tanks in position, though. More tanks now sieging up as well, and I am not so sure if this was a great move out of Beyond. Lots of cash in the bank for, honestly, both players. Are they lacking barracks, or what's going on here? KATOWICE only has 5 barracks. He does have the 2 factories, which should allow him to eventually get rid of this cash. Double Liberator harass now happening over here at the 3rd base, as Beyond will pull away his workers somewhat in time. Will lose 3 and lose a little bit of mining. Liberators ideally, of course, unsiege here, so they actually have a future as well. This base is it gonna die this quickly? I think it's just dead. By the time KATOWICE gets to respond, this base dies. So he's gonna stim in, but the base is dead. It's now gonna lose maybe a medevac, and at the same time we have a downward rotation here coming out of Beyond in towards this base. Scans forward. Is that in range? Yes, it is in range. It's gonna take out both of these tanks. Or at least one of them at first. Now the second one will fall. Liberator comes back home, also gets sniped. KATOWICE here is being absolutely run around. This CC is in a bit of trouble. Well, it's dead. It's more than just a bit of trouble. It's most likely gonna die here, as we still have this chase going on at the same time. That is the second command center that falls within a minute. On the side of KATOWICE is already rebuilding one of these. Sensor tower still hasn't finished up. Tanks getting a couple good shots on those Marines, as the supply overall in favor of KATOWICE, but the income heavily in favor of Beyond. Beyond has managed to set up a planetary up here. Beyond has managed to fly a command center, an orbital over here. Has another CC that's just finished in the natural. And we have this orbital still flowing. So we are currently at what? 2 orbitals with a 3rd one on the way and 2 planetaries. So potentially 4 base mining of bases that still have mineral patches. While KATOWICE currently is mining from half a base, soon to be maybe 2. If even that, as Marines here gonna be moving defensively towards the planetary. There are no tanks at all for Beyond in this defensive spot. At the same time, once again, we're gonna have a little base trade. There's just a single tank. KATOWICE hasn't finished his sensor tower yet. Should cancel it. That's a lot of money. That's mainly gas, I guess. Here, this planetary is gonna get taken out. Clearing these SCVs seems like a good plan, but probably should be the task of just a single medevac if you want to do it. Tanks here defensively not in position whatsoever, by the way. There's one tank so far back that it might as well not be next to... Like, this is not defending this planetary at all. Like, there's just no way. So we see Beyond with a move in. It's gonna lose 2 tanks. Will not be in range of the planetary as a result. It's gonna try to move a little bit further forward. I almost feel like taking out these rocks would be a big play. Definitely a helpful thing here to do. 5 tanks in range of the planetary will eventually take it out. As this Liberator at the same time got a couple of kills. This base still hasn't landed either. As KATOWICE once again is taking the initiative in this game. Momentum on his side. Aggressive on the map. These SCVs are gonna get taken out. Beyond moves back too quick. Loses a bunch more of them workers. Still has a couple of command centers floating around, as we see the same thing now for KATOWICE, flying a new one to the top side. Would love to see this natural flying over somewhere as well, just to start mining. I wouldn't even mind if they take this base. That seems like a much safer base, given the movement that KATOWICE has been going for so far. Once again, moving out with every single unit. 9 tanks, 44 Marines, nothing left behind defensively. Planetary will go up on the top side. And that means that this potential Marine drop, or this Marine attack, Marine run-by, could potentially do a lot of damage. Here goes Beyond. It's 3 tanks versus a bunch of Marines. Marines can, of course, move into medevacs and then drop on top of the tanks. And that's exactly what's happening here. Look at that. That is a lot of damage here being dealt on those tanks. And every single tank is going to end up dying as well. No Marines here, no turrets, no nothing to deal with medevacs. As at the same time, oh, we have 4 Liberators defensively right now. 4 Beyond. It's gonna stim in forward. Could have probably taken out one of these tanks. Decided not to go for it. And the moment KATOWICE sees these lips, which he just did, that's definitely gonna change things a little bit. That definitely is gonna change things. 5 Marines gonna walk into a planetary and probably, pound sand. Some serious sand pounding, sound bending. Nice. As the command center flies back over towards his 3rd base. Vikings now. This makes a lot of sense coming out of KATOWICE because he saw the Liberators. He is down, however, in supply. He is down in income. Is he up in anything, really? Is the question. He has a lower Marine count, lower tank count. Significantly more medevacs. It's the only thing that he has. Liberators here are potentially going to be a game ender. Beyond has somewhat stable control here of this map. It's going to stim a second time to increase the movement speed of these Marines double. That's not how it works, but maybe. Maybe one day. As this you see, as well as 20 more workers are going to get taken out. KATOWICE decides to send in a base trade. As a Liberator here is going to ruin this planetary's day. Single Marine could potentially help out. Is just going to get cleared though before it gets to do anything useful. Another tank goes down against the double Liberator setup. At the same time, we have a lot of tank sprawl just kind of heading back. Temporarily being ignored there by KATOWICE. Who is, he's dropping way too far in supply at this point. 40 Marines, 8 tanks versus 66 Marines and 8 tanks. Of course, we still have those 2 Liberators out there as well. Income still higher as well for Beyond. Beyond, however, is going to lose a lot of tanks here. That's what, -3, -4. It's going to lose this base. As these tanks continue taking out Marines that are rallied across the map, this CC is most likely going to... It is just going to fall, not most likely. It falls. Now, these 3 tanks here should be cleaned up by Beyond, but Beyond is too busy chasing this Marine drop around, which is the one thing you don't want to be chasing around, although he might potentially get it here. This is an okay fight for KATOWICE so far, but can he evacuate? That is the question now. And the answer to that question is not really. Manages to evacuate with a small portion of his army. We still have these 3 tanks here, which are now going to get cleaned up. It is 4 tanks on the side of Beyond against 6 tanks, now 5 tanks, on the side of KATOWICE. 34 Marines to 64. Marines once again are going to drop in a base, and they're going to try to take out a couple of workers. This is the last mining base, by the way, for Beyond. It doesn't have that many workers. KATOWICE is going to continue to micro these 2 Marines, and these Marines might actually be very important here when it comes to denying income. 1100 minerals, 1300 minerals a minute against 500. If you can defend, at least for a little bit longer, that would be a massive deal. Look at this anticipation, by the way. Viking already being sent over to the planetary, knowing that most likely there's going to be a Liberator. This has been an insanely good game. As here, Beyond is going to be moving into this tank line, which is well set up. Doom drop, moving out towards the top side. Gets scanned instantly by KATOWICE, though. Where's that Viking? Oh, the Viking got F2'd back, I guess. We don't have any units in the main base. Double tanks can siege up. Will do that instantly. Viking's going to deal with the Liberator. Marines are being stimmed back as well at the same time. Small rally in there. This is scary. There's still a Viking there. Turret's actually taking something out. At least 1 medevac. Get a second stim as 1 medevac goes down. Here comes the Viking. Maybe getting a clutch kill or 2. Maybe dying. Rotation coming out of Beyond as well. So supplies are insanely close. 79 army supply to 66. Liberator is set up over here as well. It is 16 workers to 14 workers. As this CC is going to fall, we still have the planetary up top. But this is going to equalize the income. Both players just on a single base right now. Back into the womb with you. Exact same thing as when you were born into this game. And just slightly more workers than at the start of each game. So it does feel that Beyond has A, map control, and B, better eco due to the orbital. As, KATOWICE with a bit of a blunder here, walks right into this tank line. The one advantage he had was the superior tank force. What a way to end this game, holy crap. Resources lost insanely close, 39,000 against 41,000. A sick game, absolutely. Well deserving of the title. Game, most entertaining game of the tournament. I think better actually than the Clem versus Oliveira one. So yeah. I'm happy to have watched this. I'm glad I did, despite it being a TVT. I hope you all feel the same. If you do, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see all of you next time for a new video. Bye-bye.